Hello, my name is Brandon Todd Jackson, and I am back with another video. And today I am talking about orchids. And for a little bit of context, I am a data scientist of 15 years transitioning into an AI systems architect role because I love to help people build and scale their ideas through natural language using the tools that are available with us today. But there is a catch. When you are using tools such as Bolt, Replit, Lovable, V0, these tools will burn you if you don't know what you're doing. And so with this, I have an AI Systems Academy that I am launching, and that's not what we're here today. But the point of this is that if you get the product requirement document wrong, you will burn a lot of money. I've worked with a lot of founders, and they've said time and time again, Lovable is expensive. And so I have a few architectural steps that I take my people through to where I connect. I built the front end with Lovable, and I've gone through several experiments. No matter how dense or how light of a product requirement document you give it, it's only going to give you 30 to 40% of the build. And from that, this is where they get you on your tokens. This is where they get you on that iterative process. And it's a lot harder to do the feature branching to make sure that when you're creating a new feature, it's isolated on a new branch. And that whole dev lifecycle is very hard to do with the current tools, Lovable, Replit, and Bolt. But there is a way and there's a workaround. If you could just connect it through the GitHub integration and you pull it down into Cloud Code or you pull it down into Cursor, you can go a lot further than what you would be using within Lovable or Replit by themselves. But there is a game changer, and it is called Orchids. And I really believe that I'm going to sunset Lovable. I'm going to sunset Bolt, and Replit, I sunset that a long time ago just because it is so expensive. But today, let me digress and let me get into it. Orchids. I absolutely love it. And here's why. From the jump, you can see that they're coming for the competition. You can import all of your projects from other applications, but I won't start there today because I want to show you a native build that I've done with them. And the one thing that I noticed right off the bat, they had me at hello. You get 500,000 tokens that you can spend in a 1 month interval. But the way that the competition does it with Lovable or Bolt, you get one shot. You get 1 day, you can test it, and they give you what I call fool's gold. It looks like you have a full stack application that is ready to be deployed off of that one shot prompt. But when you get in there, and I've done this time and time again within Cursor, I connect it to the sequential thinking MCP. And after I pull it from Lovable, after I've worked with 15 individual founders over the last month, on average, Lovable only generates, no matter how dense or light the PRD is, 20 to 30% of the requirements. And so this is where we get into Lovable, and this is where we get into Cursor and Cloud Code, and we close that gap. But Orchids has come to save the day because I was able to build out a full website with database, with the backend database, and with Stripe integrated with it within 400,000 of the 500,000 tokens. And so within this app, I'm just going to show you really quick, I absolutely love the simplicity of this layout. And so you'll see it's going to load here shortly what it's built for me. And this website, it is absolutely stunning. So I'm launching the AI Systems Academy. And so what this is focused on, failing fast up front and defining the actual product requirements from a full stack systems architectural layout. I have multiple patterns depending on what the use case is, and we're launching with around 6 patterns that over the last few years of me managing full stack development teams on a global scale for some of the largest retailers and banks in the world. I know the architectural patterns, and I'm taking that, reverse engineering it, and helping people, normal everyday people like us vibe coders, understand what the actual patterns is, how to do the specifications in order to save time and headache up front to where you're not building, burning, and restarting again. I built this within around 10 prompts. And the reason why it was 10 prompts is because I did a back-end migration from Supabase to NeonDB, and they made it so simple. It's mind-blowing. And I also integrated Stripe, which Stripe can be a headache, let me tell you. I work with founders all the time. They're non-technical, and so just working with webhooks and going from the dev environment to production environment, it can be a nightmare. Orchids, they made it so flawlessly simple. And so this landing page, just going to walk you through it just really quick, a quick scan why most AI projects fail, the typical path, the root cause, and the solution. The founders that build tools and strategic architectures, they are the people who win. In any other application, I would advise against it. I gave it so much context. Basically, I took the full layout of 15 section landing page. I gave it all of the details. I gave it exactly how I needed it to be built. So I gave it the actual table structures, the subtext, all of the blocks, everything that it needed to know up front, so that I wasn't incrementally building this thing out, and it took it in. I mean, over 28 pages of a Word document, and it digested it and it took it into full context. It didn't miss a thing. All right. And it didn't burn through all of my tokens. So that was the first thing that just captured my attention. And then you notice everyone is integrating with Supabase. And Supabase is cool and all, but my preferred platform is NeonDB for various reasons. All right, so it didn't automatically just assume the Supabase connection, because I told it up front, don't assume a Supabase connection. All right, I told it I wanted to use a Next.js project, and I actually want to use Neon, and they made it so easy for me to integrate with Neon to where Lovable or Bolt, they automatically bolt in Supabase, and then you waste tokens on the back end trying to refactor and migrate and pull out of Neon, out of Supabase to go into another platform. What it did, it built a Neon integration up front, and all it did then, it walked me through everything that I needed to know. It told me the full path that I would need to copy in terms of the connector to the database. And then I was able to securely drop in the secret. And so with Lovable and Bolt, I dropped my API keys in, and I'm not sure, are they safe? They do a very good job of, one, locking down your environment file, and two, creating the get ignore file up front to where you can't deploy and commit any secrets. And so with this, I went through here, and as I mentioned, the setup for the NeonDB was smooth, and the setup for the payments was absolutely mind-blowingly simple. And the thing that I actually love about this is that when you're actually in the application itself, you have a couple of things that are working in your favor. You have the selector. So if you're not used to debugging and creating, you don't know what a div is, you don't know what a page is, you don't know what a H1 tag versus a H2 versus a paragraph tag. And I just love the way, you see this span. I love the way you can just hover over everything. You can see the button, but the beauty is once you click on it, it automatically references that part of the website. Did you see that? It automatically references. And not only does it automatically reference, you can click on the page and it pulls up the exact location. So if you're a programmer, this is built for the dev, because the workflow is extremely simple, and it's like you're dancing from front end to back end, everything that you're working with. And I just think that this is absolutely incredible. And then you see you have the environment file that is locked. One of the things that I had a hard time with Lovable and Bolt, I would make an update and it would delete my environment file, and I would spend a lot of time going in and refactoring and pulling in my API keys from the actual API sources. So I lost a lot of time. I learned to do the backup, and I learned the strategy of setting up the get ignore, but the get ignore and to be able to lock down the env file by system constraints, but they factored for it up front. And the one thing that I loved about this is that they went ahead and created the get ignore file that is extremely robust. The one thing that I would say is it didn't have the environment variables, the env local. It didn't have that tagged from the very jump, but in itself, it was a much more robust get ignore file than I've seen across any of the other applications. And so this is just a quick high level run through of just what you can do with Orchids. And so one of the things that I just want to do a live update on, just to show you a little bit of the functionality. I am launching this program, and I've already set up the Stripe integration, and I've already have a list of all of the students that I've worked with. I've granted them free access. So I've worked with 350 people, 348 of them have responded. I have this low tier, $17 a month for the founding members. It's going to go up in time to $24, but essentially every month I'm going to be doing a live build where I'm working with tools such as Orchids, Lovable, Bolt, and I'm working through Claude Code and Cursor, and I'm showing you the most efficient way to scale and deploy these applications. But it built it as if I was ready to launch today, but I'm not. And so the thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to connect to this page. And again, once you click on the page, it jumps over and you can see exactly you are at the hero section. I just absolutely love that it has that context. And so I'm giving that for the context. And then I want to say for these two buttons, and it has the audio, but since I'm recording, I'm not going to do the audio. But this is also another game changer, is that you can just use spoken natural language. One of the things that I'm using in Cursor and in Claude Code, I'm using Whisper. And so now I don't even have to use Whisper. And I've tested this thing out and it is spot on. It's spot on and it's on par with Whisper. But what I want to do, I want to tell it, I'm not ready to launch this application based on the components that I've tagged. Can you create a wait list? And I actually need you to create the NeonDB database structure for this wait list. So right now, when you click on the join and the annual, that workflow to payment flow, I need a separate one that is specific to a wait list. And I don't want you to change too many elements of the screen. So I use Whisper just to be safe since I'm recording. Okay. And so now you'll just see a live update of what it does. So it's going in, it's completing 0 of 5 to-dos. And I really like this because even when you look at Cursor started in the Cursor 2.0, they built in the plan. All right. And so now you're able to see the plan that is natively built in. So it has the functionality of Cursor. It has all the functionalities of all the competing products. Because I've spent a lot of time in Lovable, I've spent a lot of time in Bolt, but today I'm telling you, I may be canceling my Lovable subscription, to be completely honest. I'm a fan. So Y Combinator, the founders of this application, all right, so this thing is building, so it's creating the waitlist table in NeonDB, creating the API route for the waitlist submission, implementing the waitlist module for the landing page, updating the call to action buttons to trigger waitlist flow instead of the checkout, and verifying the waitlist functionality, submission, and the DB. So this is the other thing. It verifies everything that it's going to do. I just love that. All right. So I always do a double redundancy check whenever I'm in Cursor, and I tell it I have a markdown file that I've read in. It has first principles. It outlines what first principles is, and I always say at first principles, using sequential thinking MCP, can you validate your work? It's a redundant thing, but it saved me a lot of time and energy. But they have that redundancy already built in with the verification process. And it even went through that for the Stripe payment processor. It automatically validated it for me. And I'm going to create another video for that here shortly. All right, so we have a live error and these things happen, but let's see what happens. Let's see if it's able to debug and fix this on its own without me messing with my own phalanges. So what is this saying? Show more. So the Orchids project, declaration, syntax error. There we go. It has self-resolved this error. It says join the waitlist, join the waitlist. All right, so now this is a paid waitlist, and I actually love this functionality. Let's see about it. So I've implemented a waitlist functionality. I've created the waitlist table in your NeonDB, created the waitlist. All right, so this is absolutely stunning. All right, and then also, just so that it's clear that this is built for developers, you have the terminal where you can see everything that's going on in the terminal down below. So you see that it ran into the issue, it read the terminal files, and from that, it was able to pick up that 500 and self-reflect and update on its own. And so really quick, I'm just going to click on this button. Oh, so now I'm actually live. Oh, and the last thing that I will show you, I love the fact that you can actually deploy this to your own environment. So the deployment failed when I was doing something, but I went ahead and already fixed this, but I'm going to redeploy because the deployment failed because I had it deployed to their Vercel. They have their own Vercel, but then I reconnected it to my Vercel, and now I'm redeploying to my local Vercel, which is absolutely game changing because before the branding with Lovable, all the apps, when you're just trying to get your MVP out there, you don't want the branded application. You don't want to have it say Lovable. You want, even though everyone knows and trusts Lovable, there's something of value to where you can deploy it to your own Vercel environment and then go through the DNS process to connect it to your own website. They make that process extremely easy. And so now it's going through the deploy process. It's building the app and it says it is ready to go. So I'm going to go to the site and I'm going to bring it over onto another screen. It is live. It is on another. I'm going to pause really quick. I'm going to bring this bad boy over. All right, so now we are on the Orchids Academy AI, but the thing that I'm going to show you is that it's not the Orchids actual URL, it's your own URL. So here, if I go into Vercel, this is my own production and Vercel environment, so you're not locked in. I just love the fluidity of this platform. I could go in and I just bought the domain. I could go and add my domain to this and I can deploy this to my own website. But you see how it has Orchids? If I wanted to change this to AI systems.vercel, I can do that. I can save that. And we have everything that's going to just remove the old domain. And I'm going to save it, redirect the old domain, just in case I've shared that with anybody. And now you have your website that has been fully deployed. It had an error, but also it corrected itself in that error loop process. All right, so that's the value and that's how amazing this application is. But the one thing that I also show you is if I go to Neon and I log into Neon, you can see I have the AI Systems Academy. And if I go to the tables, I now have a wait list. All right. And you see how it tested itself. It has a test user. So if I go back over into the actual website, I'm just going to pop in over here and I'm going to join the wait list. I'm just going to say Brandon Jackson and I'm going to give it an email, b.jackson19. And then I'm just going to go over to the database and I'm going to refresh it. And that's how smooth the plumbing is with Orchids. So Orchids, you have my attention. I am a super fan right now of everything that you have done. And I'm going to create a series of videos where I'm working with Orchids and I'm working with Claude Code and Cursor with Orchids to where I can show you that I can ramp the ideal to deployment lifecycle 10 times faster than any other application such as Bolt or Lovable. Or Replit. Again, Replit's old news in my books. This is great. Thank you, Orchid.